Okay, our next speaker is a comedian, an activist, a broadcaster, host of Live on the Fly on WBAI. Let's hear it for Randy Credico.
Okay, thank you, Chuck. Give, Chuck and I know Bernadette's not here today, and Zool. Give them a round of applause because they've been holding this down. I know what it's like, man. Having a vigil every week. You know, I did it with the Concert Fund for 8 years in front of Rockefeller Center. So it's vital that people do organize, and I want to say thank you to all of those people and congratulate them, encourage those people around the world, whether it be Auckland, Rome, Berlin, that are holding these rallies today, holding these vigils. We need more.
Yes.
It's the most important thing, as Grandpa Al Lewis used to say there when I did his show many times back in the 90s at WBAI. It's vital that you get the asses of the masses onto the streets. And that's what we have. And it's got to continue because this is where it is. It can't be an intellectual game. It's got to be a ground game.
You got a lot of asses here today.
I know. I got a cold ass because I'm not wearing a jacket, all right? But first of all, let me just, what else? By the way, I'm Randy, and I'm an alcoholic, but got to maintain our sense of humor. Julian has a great sense of humor. 3 times I was in the embassy with him and had him on WBAI. He always had a sense of humor in the darkest moments. So we are not a dull lot. We have to maintain our sense of humor at this point in time and continue to do the hard work. We are in front of the British Embassy, which really is a misnomer because they're not. This is a vassal state of the United States. This is not an independent country. It's like, for them to have a consulate to the UN, it's like Hawaii having a consulate to the UN. They are not an independent state. They are a U.S. 51st state, or maybe a colony, because they do what we tell them to do. I went to the trial, the first half in February at Balmoral, and I took the photos that got me into a lot of trouble. But I went to the trial, and you had 3 members of the Department of Justice sitting behind the prosecutors who were working on behalf of the Crown Prosecutor Services. You had 3 that were pulling all of the strings. So they are running the show, right? The DOJ is running the show. There's no independence by this CPS nor from the British government. They do what we tell them to do, and they got a terrible history. Britain is a rogue country, all right? We expect them not to want this. They don't want this out here today. Why would they want it out here? They do not want people to demonstrate no more. They've proven it. They don't want free speech by Julian Assange. They don't want that. So why would they want this? Hi, Steve. How are you? Steve Brown. But I want to say, here, there are a lot of people in prison in this state. I've always worked on behalf of prisoners. They say, well, you've been working on Julian Assange's case the last 3 or 4 years. Prior to that, I worked at Concert Fund for 15 years. We did drug laws. We did Tuya, Texas. I am thinking not just of Julian today, but the 3 million Americans that are in prisons right now. There are 3 million. There's Leonard Peltz here that has been running for 40 years. We have political prisoners like Mumia Abu-Jamal. There are thousands of political prisoners right in this country.
Yes, sir.
So let me take you back here. I'm going to tell you one story. This goes back because I thought Nellie Bailey would be here today. And I got arrested with her and Carl Dix in Cornell West back in 2011, fighting against stop and frisk. We spent 12 hours in prison or jail. 12 hours. But it was great because we talked about, at Cornell, we talked about the abolition movement. We talked in particular, I was reading a book on a guy by the name of Anthony Burns. Anthony Burns was a runaway slave who got into Massachusetts. Because of the fugitive slave law, his owner, Charles Suttle, went up there, had him arrested. There was a trial like the trial in Balmoral. It was already set that he was going to be returned. But it ignited the entire abolition movement in the great city of Boston at that time. He had Theodore Parker, Thomas Wentworth Higginson, you had Alcott, Emerson, Thoreau. They were all involved. Now, he was taken out of there, marched down the street when the judge said he's going back. And he was taken back, but they marched him down the street. Franklin Pierce was the president, Daniel Webster, Secretary of State, put him on a gunboat and brought him back to Virginia, where it took 2 years before they finally bought his freedom. So they weren't there. This is the point. They were not there. Those people, just because of Anthony Burns, they were still thinking about the people that were enslaved in the South. Just because they were with Anthony Burns didn't mean that they didn't care about the 3 million people in the South that still lived under slavery. So that's with Julian Assange. Just because we are focused on Julian Assange doesn't mean we're not concerned about the 3 million people that live in prisons in this country. But what it means is that Julian Assange, if he goes to prison, we don't want to add to it, just like they didn't want to add Anthony Burns back into the slavery system in the South. We don't want to bring him over here, another political prisoner. We got enough.
Right.
And as a journalist, most importantly, and I see we have NBC, I've done Arian Melber's show many times. You've been very good with that, MSNBC, and Ali Velshi, they've done this before, and I hope that they do it tomorrow. I hope that they will speak out for this journalist. That's important. That if he goes, you'll be going next. You understand? You will be going. It's time to circle the wagons instead of the firing squad around Julian Assange. That is the most important thing, is that if he goes, this is different. Yes, there are political prisoners in this country. He goes, the press goes. Who's going to write about Leonard Peltier? Who's going to write about Mumia Abu-Jamal if they destroy journalism in this country? So that is why. And plus, he's a great man, made great contributions, as we just heard. Incredible individual. He exposed the Brits, he exposed the U.S., he exposed the State Department. He exposed so many crimes that were committed. And he is sacrificing 2 years in this jail. 2 years. And I was at it. He was in a glass cage, like Eichmann was in a glass cage. They have him in a glass cage at this trial. At any rate, if they can let the Nuremberg 50 sit with their lawyers, certainly they can let Julian Assange sit with his lawyers, but it's too late. So, boy, I was on a nice roll there. Till I got into, I had to bring up Germany, right? All right. But I really hope that this is to the press, my friends in the press. Please save yourself, save journalism. This is a major case. Will the president give him a pardon? We're all hoping that the president, after 9 people were just executed by the Justice Department, will give him a pardon. They can atone for that somewhat by giving Julian Assange a pardon at this point in time. But let's get ready. No matter what happens tomorrow at the Old Bailey, no matter what happens, you must continue. You got to redouble your efforts, because even if she lets him go, which is a 1% possibility, if he lets him go, doesn't mean that it's all over, because there are a lot of people in institutions around the world that want to see him dead and want to keep him quiet. So you have to continue the organizing and the movement until he's actually in a place where he can live and work. Thank you very much.